Hello students and welcome back to English class. We'll continue with The Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 2. As you know, the scene happens at Belmont, an idyllic place on a hill which has been chosen to provide a refreshing change from the commercial world of Venice. The scene opens with Portia's melancholy, which reminds us to Antonio's melancholy in the scene 1. Portia is represented here as a poor little rich girl whose father has devised a lottery to select her husbands. Portia comments on different suitors who have come to try their luck. So here we find Portia's opinion about different suitors. First was Neapolitan prince. Portia describes the Neapolitan prince as a typical Italian who speaks only of his horses. Then second one was Count Palatine. Count Palatine of Rhineland was so full of unmannerly sadness in his youth, and according to Portia, he would prove a weeping philosopher in his old age. Then we find the French lord. According to Portia, she regards this French lord as a man because God made him and for no other reason. Then we have the Englishman. Englishman speaks only English, which was not known to Portia. And also she commented that he lacks individuality in his dressing. So through these characters, or how Portia describes these characters, actually Shakespeare is portraying what the Elizabethans thought about their continental neighbors. All these are neighboring countries. Portia's through the opinion of Portia about her neighbors like Falconbridge, Neapolitan Prince, Count Palatine and all, Shakespeare is picturizing what were the Elizabethans' thoughts about their continental neighbors. Now, moving on to Scottish Lord. So, Nerissa, what think of you of Scottish Lord, his neighbor? So, Nerissa is asking to Portia. Portia, what's your opinion about the next suitor? Next suitor is Scottish Lord, his neighbor. Scottish Lord was actually standing just behind the English Lord Falconbridge. That is how he became neighbor. And apart from that, to say you about for geographical reasons also, Scotland is the neighbor of England. Likewise also, Scottish Lord is a neighbor of the English Lord Falconbridge. So Portia, that he had a neighborly charity in him, for he borrowed a box of the ear of the Englishman and swore he would pay him again and when he was able. I think the Frenchman became his surety and sealed under for another. So Portia is telling, yeah, of course, that he hath a neighborly charity in him. Being neighbors, they have neighborly charity between them. That is, there is neighborly charity between the Scottish Lord and the English Lord Falconbridge. And she is giving a very funny reason related to it. For he borrowed a box of ear of the Englishman and swore he would pay him again when he was able. Reason why she is saying that the Scottish Lord has neighborly charity to the Falconbridge is that while they were standing in queue, he borrowed a box of ear of the Englishman. You know what's getting a box in the ear, no? Kicking or getting a sharp hit near your ear region. Boxing your ear region. So, what Portia says is that the Scottish Lord got a good box of ear from the English Lord. And after getting this box of ear, what the Scottish Lord was telling to Englishman is that he swore means he promised that he would pay him again when he was able. After getting a box of ear, he didn't return it back soon. He didn't hit him back very soon. What the Scottish Lord told to the Englishman is that definitely he is swearing there, he is promising that definitely he would pay him again when he was able. When he is in a position to return it back, definitely he will give a good box of ear to Englishman. And you remember who was just behind the Englishman in the queue of suitors? Of course, it was the Frenchman, right? And I think the Frenchman became the surety and seal under for another. So when there was a quarrel going on between the Englishman and the Scottish lord, what the French lord, the man behind that Englishman was actually a Frenchman, right? What the Frenchman did was he joined with the Scottish lord. He joined with the Scottish lord. That was usually the custom of the French. Whenever England and Scotland, being neighboring countries, whenever they fought against each other, French will come to give assistance to the Scotland. Clear? So that same history is repeated here. Even while Scottish Lord, Englishman, and the Frenchman was in the queue, what happened was there came a quarrel between the English and the Scottish Lord. And the Frenchman, hearing this quarrel, came and supported the Scotland. I think the Frenchman became his surety. Surety means the person who signs the bond. A person who signs the bond. I think the Frenchman became a surety and sealed under for another. And they are sealing, they are signing a bond as a guarantee. That is, this Frenchman signed in the bond as a guarantee for the Scottish lord. And what was the bond about? One day when he is able to, definitely he will give a box of ear to the to the Englishman. Clear? So, when he made such a promise, who came to sign the bond or that imaginary bond? Who gave the support to the Scottish lord for this imaginary bond? It was the Frenchman. Clear? So there was a fight between Scottish lord and the Englishman, and the Frenchman is supporting the Scottish lord. Fight was all about getting a box of ear from the Englishman. And the Scottish lord, because he was not in a position to return it, what the Scottish lord said is that definitely I'll give it back when I am able to. So that was all about the Scottish lord. Now Nerissa is moving on to the next suitor. How, like you, the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew. So the next person in the queue was a Duke of Saxony's nephew from Germany. So Portia. Let's see Portia's opinion about this Duke of Saxony's nephew from Germany. Very wily in the morning when he is sober, and most wily in the afternoon when he is drunk. When he is best, he is little worse than a man, and when he is worst, he is little better than a beast. And the worst fall that ever fell, I hope I shall make shift to go without him. So now, let's see what Portia says about this German Duke of Saxony's nephew. Very wily in the morning when he is sober. So that's what Portia says about this Duke of Saxony's nephew. He is very wily. Very wily means very terrible. In the morning when he is sober. Very terrible early in the morning itself, he looks very terrible. When he is sober. When he is sober means when he is not drunk itself, he is terrible. And most wily in the afternoon when he is drunk. And once he drinks a little liquor or alcohol, what happens to him is that terrible man becomes most terrible. Very terrible or most terrible in the afternoon. By afternoon he becomes very, very terrible. When he is drunk. When he is best, he is little worse than a man. When he is in the good mood itself, he is worse than a human being. He cannot be called as human being. He is a little worse than a man. He is worse or he is not a human being when he is in good mood itself. And when he is worse, he is little better than a beast. And once he is drunk and once he is in a very terrible mood, he is a little better than a beast. A little better than a beast. Beast means animal, right? So a little better than a beast means what? Somewhat an animal itself. Somewhat good. Somewhat better in character. Usually animals don't have character, right? So somewhat a little soft than a cruel animal, meaning he is cruel itself or he is very bad or terrible itself. So throughout he is terrible. Early in the morning when not drunk he is in a bad mood. Once he is drunk he becomes more terrible or more worse. And according to Portia, when he is in good mood he is a little better than an animal. Little worse than a human being. worse than a human being, then he doesn't have the character of a human being there, or he doesn't behave like a human being. And once he is fully drunk, he is a little better than a beast, meaning that he is an animal itself. And the worst fall that ever fell. I hope I should make shift to go without him. So Portia is chilling. All these suitors have actually come to marry Portia, right? So Portia is chilling. And the worst thing and the worst fall that ever fell. That is, if I am to marry him, the worst fall means the worst thing that ever fell, that could ever happen, will happen. If I am to marry him, the worst thing that can ever happen will happen. I hope I shall make shift to go without him. So finally she's chilling. I think I shall make shift. I shall find a way to go without him. To go without him means I'll try to avoid him. I'll manage a way by refusing him. I'll try to move ahead without accepting him. But can Portia simply refuse this German duke? It's impossible, right? According to father's will, whoever chooses the right casket has got the right to marry Portia. So if this Saxony's nephew is going to choose the right casket, it means that she should become the wife of this man. That is a terrible thing that's going to happen there, isn't it? So let's see what's the trick employed by Portia in order to make this man choose the wrong casket. That's what you're going to learn in the next dialogue. So next we have the dialogue of Nerissa. If he should offer to choose the right casket, you should refuse to perform your father's will if you should refuse to accept him. So the same thing is reminded by Nerissa. If he should offer to choose the right casket, suppose if he is coming to choose, if he should offer to make his choice, if he has come to make his choice, and suppose chooses the right casket and he is choosing the right casket. He has come to choose the casket and he is telling that I want to choose the casket. He is offering to choose the casket. And finally, if he is choosing the right casket, you should refuse to perform your father's will if you should refuse to accept him. What's going to happen is that if you should refuse to perform your father's will. If you are going to deny that man, even after choosing the right casket, it will be like refusing to perform your father's will. It will be like if you're refusing the man, even after choosing the right casket, it is just like refusing your father's will. If you should refuse to accept it. That is, even after choosing the right casket, if you are going to deny this man, German Duke, Saxony's nephew, then what's going to happen is that you will be denying your father's will. Will it be right for Portia to do so? No. Right. So that is why Portia said before that the best thing is to move ahead without this man. So let's see what's the plan devised by her in order to prevent this man from choosing the right casket. Portia. Therefore, for the fear of the worst, I pray thee, set a deep glass of Rhenish wine on the contrary casket. For if the devil be within, and the temptation without, I know he will choose. I will do anything there is ere I'll be married to a sponge. So, this is the trick devised by Portia. What Portia says is that in order to prevent the man from choosing the right casket, you just do one thing. For the fear of the worst, therefore, for the fear of the worst. That is, in order to prevent the worst thing from happening. Which is the worst thing mentioned here? The German choosing the right casket, right? So, in order to prevent that worst thing from happening, I pray thee, I request you, I pray thee, set a deep glass of Rhenish wine on the contrary casket. So what Portia is telling is that in order to prevent the man from choosing the right casket, you can please, I request you Nerissa, please do a simple trick. Trick is that she should keep, I pray thee, set a deep glass of Rhenish wine. Keep a full glass of Rhenish wine. Rhenish wine is the best wine. It is white wine coming from Rhine Valley. It's known for its best quality. Okay. So you have to keep a full glass of Rhenish wine on the contrary casket. Contrary means on the wrong casket. 4. If the devil be within. So Portia is telling, I'm sure, even if it is devil inside, and that temptation without. Temptation referred here is Rhenish wine. Without means on the top of that casket. Even if it is devil inside, no problem. If there is that temptation without, if there is that glass of wine outside on the top of that casket, I know he will choose it. I'm sure that being a drunkard, he will choose only that casket which contains the Rhenish wine. I will do anything, Nerissa. Here, I'll be married to a sponge. So, Portia is telling, dear Nerissa, I'm willing to do anything. Here means before. So, what Portia says is that I'll do anything, Nerissa. Here, I'll be married to a sponge. She means is that I'm willing to do anything before I'm married to a sponge. Sponge referred here is this German lord. Why he is called a sponge is that just like the sponge has got a character or a peculiarity of absorbing the full amount of water. Similarly, this German duke absorbs as much liquor or alcohol as possible. Because he is a drunkard who soaks himself with too much alcohol or drinks, Portia calls him as a sponge because he absorbs too much liquor. So Portia is telling, the only manner how I can avoid it from choosing the right casket is that Nerissa should go and place a full glass of Rhenish wine on the wrong casket. Portia says that she is very sure that even if it is devil inside that casket, because there is that Rhenish wine outside, he will choose only that casket. So she says that that is the easiest method of avoiding this man from choosing the right casket. So now we have met a number of suitors, right? And do you think Portia likes any of them? Not exactly. So actually Portia is tense whether any of these suitors will choose the right casket, and finally she will have to buy one of them. She was really tensed about it because the fact is that she didn't like any one of them. So Nerissa knew it very well. So Nerissa is telling to Portia, you need not fear, lady, the having any of these lots. They have acquainted me with their determination, which is indeed to return to their homes and to trouble you with no more suit, unless you may be won by some other sort that your father's imposition, depending on the casket. So Nerissa is telling to Portia, my dear Portia, you need not fear, lady, you need not worry about any of these suitors. The having any of these lots, you need not worry about any of these lots becoming your husband. They have acquainted me. They have already informed me with their determination, with their plan, which is indeed to return to their home. Their plan is to return to their home and to trouble you no more with suit. They are not going to come forward to choose the right casket. They have reached till there at Belmont. After reaching Belmont and after finding this caskets and other things, they have already made up their mind to return without choosing any of the casket. Because the condition is that if they choose the wrong casket, they can never marry anyone in their life. Maybe they don't love Portia very much. So they don't want to miss a wonderful life ahead for them. So what they have planned is that because there is a very great rule associated with the choosing of this casket, that is, if they choose the wrong casket, they cannot marry anyone in their life. Maybe that is why they are planning to return. And to trouble you with no more suit, unless you may be won by some other sort than your father's imposition, depending on the casket. So they have made up their mind not to trouble you and to trouble you, that is, not to trouble Portia with no more suit. They are not going to take part in this casket game unless you may be won by some other sort, meaning you may be won by some other means, by some other sort than your father's imposition, depending on the casket. You may be won by some other means rather than what is imposed by your father, rather than the means imposed by your father. What was the means imposed by the father to marry Portia? It is to choose the right casket, right? So, they are willing to marry you by some other means other than the rule imposed by your father. That is by choosing the right casket. Depending on the casket. That is by choosing the right casket. So all these suitors have decided to go back to their home. And they have expressed their decision that they are not planning to choose, that they are not planning to marry Portia by choosing the right casket. And they have also said that unless they could win Portia by some other means other than the father's imposition, depending on the casket. So let's see what Portia says after hearing this. If I live to be as old as Sibylla, I'll die as chaste as Diana, unless I be obtained by the manner of my father's will. So these suitors who have come to marry Portia are also returning. Though Portia disliked all of them, thing was that she was a little discouraged or disappointed. She was sharing her disappointment with Nerissa. She was telling to Nerissa, Nerissa, what is this? Many suitors are coming and without choosing the casket, they are going. So if this is going to continue, what's going to happen is that I'll become older and older. So I'll become as old as Sibylla, and finally, even when I'm old, I'll not be married by anyone. And finally, I'll be dying as a chaste girl or a chaste lady, like Diana. If only someone marries her, she will lose her chastity. If no one is going to marry her, many suitors coming after hearing the demands associated with the casket, all are returning without even choosing the casket. Or those who came to choose the casket returning without choosing the right casket. If this is going to continue throughout, what's going to happen to Portia is that she will become older and older. And finally, according to Portia, she will die unmarried, as a chaste girl, as a pure girl. Clear? So that's what she's telling here. If I live to be as old as Sibylla, I'll die as chaste as Diana. So she's telling to Nerissa, Nerissa, if all the suitors are going to return, and if I'm going to live as old as Sibylla, if I am going to live for long years, like how Sibylla lived. To tell you about Sibylla, Sibylla is a prophetess in the Roman mythology. And it is said that Apollo granted her as many years of life as there were sand grains in her hand. Once he gave a handful of sand to Sibylla and was telling to Sibylla, you will survive as for these many years on this earth to the amount of sand grains which I have given in your hand. That is still the amount of sand grains, to the total amount of sand grains that is there in your hand. Up to that many years you will survive on this earth. And we can imagine how many sand grains will be there in a handful of sands. So what happened to Sibylla? She lived for many, many years, hundreds and hundreds of years. And as a result, she became very old and old. So she is described, or she is a figure associated, or she is a imagery used to describe old woman. So Portia is telling, if no one is going to marry me, and if I am to live for many, many years, finally I'll become as old as Sibylla. And by the time I die also, and while by deathbed also, I'll be as chaste as Diana. Diana, to tell you about Diana, Diana is the goddess of virginity in Roman mythology. That is, goddess of virgins. Virgins are said to be chaste because they don't associate themselves in any sexual intercourse. So, this Portia is telling, if I am going to live for many years without getting married, finally I'll die as pure as Diana, unless I be obtained by the manner of my father's will. unless there is someone to marry me as per the conditions associated with my father's will. Otherwise, I'll be dying like Sibylla, or I'll be dying like Diana. I'll be dying like a chess girl like Diana. Unless and until I'm married by someone as per the conditions associated with my father's will. I'm glad this parcel of wooers are so reasonable. Then she's telling, I'm really happy, Nerissa, that these parcel of wooers, that these suitors has come to choose the right casket are so reasonable. Reasonable means they have got sense. They have enough common sense. For there is not among them but I dot. But in this group, I cannot find the person, but I dot. I dot means whom I long for. That is, Portia wishes someone else to be in that queue, but that man is found to be missing. Let's find out who that person is. For there is not one among them, but I dot on his very absence. That is, I cannot find that man, that one man, but I dot, whom I wish on his very absence, whom I wish not to be absent, whom I do not wish to be absent. And I pray God grant them a fair departure. Finally, she's telling, and I pray now, good God, grant them a good departure. Let all have a good departure from here. Let all those who came here to choose the right casket, let them have a good journey back. Nerissa, do you not remember, lady, in your father's time, a Venetian, a scholar and a soldier that came hither in company of Marquis of Montferrat? So now, who's that man whom Portia wishes to be in that queue? A clue is given by Nerissa here. Do you not remember, lady? Lady, don't you remember? In your father's time, during the time of your father, a Venetian, a scholar and a soldier that came hither. Don't you remember a man from Venice, a scholar and a soldier who came hither, who came here in company of Marquis of Montferrat? Don't you remember the man who came along with Marquis of Montferrat? Marquis of Montferrat. It is the title given to the Italian nobleman. Now, small clues given by Nerissa. At least from which country the man whom Portia loves belongs to. He is from Venice. Can you make a guess who the person is? Of course, Portia is giving reply here. Yes, it was Bassanio, as I think it was so called. So Portia is telling, yeah, I remember that man. His name was Bassanio. I think he was called so. Nerissa, true, madam. He of all the men that ever my foolish eyes looked upon was the best deserving a fair lady. So Nerissa is telling, true, madam, what you said is right. He of all the men that ever my foolish eyes looked upon. That is, Portia is telling that among all the men whom I have ever met, he is the right person, who is the right one to deserve a fair lady. He is the person who deserves you. He is the best person to deserve a lady like you. Portia, I remember him well, and I remember him worthy of thy praise. So Portia is telling, yeah, of course I remember him. And I remember how well you were praising him that day. So by the time, enter a serving man. Dear students, it is actually servants, okay? Enter a servant. Here now, what's the news? So Portia is asking to the servant, what's the news? Why are you here now? So the servant is telling, the 4 strangers seek for you, madam, to take their leave. And there is a foreigner come from the 5th, the Prince of Morocco, who brings words the prince, his master, will be here tonight. So the servant is telling, the 4 strangers seek for you. That is, these suitors who have come till now. They were actually, how many were there? First was Neapolitan. Second one, County Palatine. Third one, French Lord Michelabon. Fourth was Falconbridge, the young Baron of England. Fifth was, it's Scottish Lord. And sixth one was the German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew. So altogether there were 6 members, right? But here it is said that the 4 strangers seek for you. So according to some critics, they say that Shakespeare seems to have forgotten the 6 suitors whom he had discussed earlier. So the servant is telling, the four strangers seek for you, madam, to take their leave. That is, they wish to see you before they take their leave, before they leave the place. And there is a forerunner come from the fifth. So by the time they are planning to leave, there is again a forerunner. Forerunner means there is a messenger come from a fourth. Another person, another suitor have already sent a messenger informing his interest to choose the casket, the Prince of Morocco. So the person who has sent a messenger to get the permission of choosing the casket is a Prince of Morocco, who brings word the prince's master will be here tonight. And what the messenger has the news what the messenger wants to convey to Portia is that Prince of Morocco will be reaching there by tonight, by that night. So that is the fame and the virtue of Portia. When some suitors leave, there are again some other suitors to come and try their luck in order to marry Portia. Such a great and virtuous girl is Portia. So next Portia's dialogue. If I could bid the fifth welcome with so good a heart as I can bid the other four farewell. So Portia is telling, if I can bid the fifth welcome, if I can give the fifth person who's coming here a good welcome. Actually, it should be the seventh person, right? Because six suitors have come here. If I could bid the fifth welcome with so good a heart as I bid the other four farewell. Just like how happily I am sending the other four suitors back, in the same manner or with the same happiness. If I could welcome the fifth person, I should be glad of his approach. Then I'll be really happy of his approach. If we have the condition of a saint and the complexion of a devil, I'd rather he should shrive me than wive me. So she's telling, oh God, if the man who's coming, if that man has got the condition of a saint means if he has got the nature of a saint and the complexion of a devil, and if he looks like a devil, I'd rather he should shrive me than wive me. So Portia is telling, if the man who's going to come has got the character of a saint and the appearance of a devil, rather I'd like to confess before him rather than making him as my husband. I'd rather he should shrive me. Shrive means he should hear my confessions rather than wive me, rather than making me as his wife. Come, Nerissa, to servant. Sirrah, go before. So she's telling to Nerissa, come on, Nerissa. And Sirrah means servant. She's telling to servant, go before. You can go before us. While we shut the gate upon one wooer, another knocks the door. So she's telling, oh my God, when we are shutting the gate against some wooers, some other people are there again coming and knocking our door. So that is the greatness of Portia. So saying this, exeunt. The scene ends here. So we have come to the end of the scene, Act 1, Scene 2. So hope you have understood the scene well, and we'll meet again in the next class. So till we meet again, goodbye.